In a small, quiet village nestled between two towering mountains, a young boy named Elias grew up dreaming of a life beyond the horizon. His world was a simple one, with winding dirt roads, lush green fields, and the ever-present hum of nature filling the air. The villagers were kind but practical people, content with their lives of farming, weaving, and storytelling. Yet Elias, with his curious eyes and restless heart, yearned for something more, something extraordinary. Elias's parents, humble farmers, often tried to temper his dreams with gentle wisdom. "The mountains protect us," his father would say, gesturing to the imposing peaks that seemed to cradle their world. "Beyond them lies uncertainty and danger. Be grateful for what you have here." His mother would smile softly, her hands always busy with some chore. "It's good to dream, Elias," she said, "but don't let your dreams take you too far from home." But the boy couldn't help it. Every night, he would climb the hill behind his house and stare at the stars. The village elders said the stars were the souls of brave adventurers who had gone too far and lost their way. Yet to Elias, they were guides, pointing toward a destiny waiting to be discovered. One fateful day, a stranger arrived in the village. He was a weathered man with a pack full of maps, tools, and stories that sparked the imagination of every child who gathered around him. Elias was particularly captivated. The stranger spoke of cities so vast that they seemed to stretch to the edge of the earth, of oceans that shimmered like liquid gold at sunset, and of deserts where the sand sang in the wind. He told of hardships too, storms that could tear sails apart and mountains that swallowed climbers whole, but even these tales thrilled Elias. The stranger noticed the boy's wide-eyed fascination. "You've got the soul of a wanderer," he said one evening, as the two of them sat by a fire. "But remember, lad, the world beyond the mountains is not kind to the unprepared. If you ever decide to leave, go with purpose and courage." Elias couldn't sleep that night. His heart was pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The stranger left the next morning, and with him went the last tether holding Elias back. He made up his mind. He would leave the village and explore the world beyond the mountains. When he told his parents, his father frowned deeply, and his mother's eyes welled with tears. "You're too young, Elias," his father argued. "The world out there isn't like our village. It's harsh and unforgiving, but it's also beautiful," Elias countered. "And I need to see it for myself." His parents eventually relented, realizing that no amount of persuasion would quell their son's determination. His mother packed him a small bundle of food, while his father handed him a sturdy walking stick. "This was my father's," he said gruffly, his voice betraying a hint of emotion. "May it guide and protect you." With a heavy heart but a determined spirit, Elias set off. The journey up the mountain was grueling. The paths were steep and treacherous, and more than once, he slipped and scraped his knees. But each time he fell, he picked himself up, driven by the thought of what lay beyond. Days turned into weeks as Elias traversed the rugged terrain. He encountered wild animals, fierce storms, and nights so cold that he thought he might never see the sun again. Yet, amidst the challenges, there were moments of awe. A hidden waterfall cascading into a crystal-clear pool, a field of wildflowers that stretched as far as the eye could see, and the sheer, breathtaking beauty of the world from the mountaintop. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Elias descended the other side of the mountain and entered a vast, unfamiliar landscape. The air was different here, brisk and filled with scents he couldn't identify. Villages, towns, and eventually cities came into view. Each place was a world of its own, with people speaking different languages, wearing vibrant clothes, and living lives so different from his own that it was almost overwhelming. Elias found work where he could, often trading stories of his village for food and shelter. He learned to navigate bustling markets, to appreciate the kindness of strangers, and to guard himself against those who sought to take advantage of his naivety. Each experience, whether joyful or painful, added to the tapestry of his journey. Years passed, and Elias grew from a boy into a young man. He became a skilled traveler, capable of surviving in the harshest conditions and thriving in the most challenging situations. Yet, despite all he had seen and accomplished, he often thought of his village, the simple life he had left behind and the family who had let him go, despite their fears. One day, while resting in a quiet meadow, Elias encountered an old woman who seemed to radiate wisdom. She listened intently as he shared his story, nodding thoughtfully. "You've seen much," she said, "but tell me, what have you learned?" Elias pondered her question. He spoke of resilience, of the kindness and cruelty of humanity, of the vastness and beauty of the world. "But most of all," he added, "I've learned that no matter how far you go, you carry your home with you. It's in your heart, in the lessons you've learned, and in the love you hold for those who shaped you." The old woman smiled. "Then you've truly traveled well, young one. Remember, the journey never ends, it simply changes form." With her words echoing in his mind, Elias decided it was time to return. The trek back to his village was just as challenging as his departure had been, but he faced it with the strength and wisdom he had gained. When he finally crossed the familiar hill behind his house, he was greeted by the sight of his parents, older but still vibrant, waiting for him with open arms. Elias embraced them tightly, tears streaming down his face. "I've seen so much," he said, "but nothing compares to the love and warmth of home." The villagers gathered to hear his tales, marveling at the adventures of the boy who had dared to leave. And while Elias continued to dream of far-off lands and future journeys, he knew that his heart would always belong to the little village nestled between the mountains, a place that had taught him the true meaning of courage, love, and the endless possibilities of the human spirit. Elias's story became a legend, inspiring generations of villagers to dream, to explore, and to carry the essence of home with them, no matter where life took them. And so, his journey continued, not in miles traveled, but in the lives he touched and the dreams he ignited in others.